Today is the day where we rank all 25 Bond movies. Keep in mind, this video will take me a while to edit, and there might be some issues in the editing room where, room runs out and stuff like that happens. I'll let you know some updates. This video might take a week long to edit. I don't know. Hopefully it takes less. Hopefully it takes shorter than the last one did, which took me like 2 weeks because there were days where I wasn't even editing at all. And hopefully this video does a good job. Let's get into it. Hello guys, welcome back to this channel. Today we are ranking all 25 Bond movies. I'm actually pretty excited to do this. And as a whole, I think I'm going to try to make this one a bit shorter than last time. Maybe a minute long talking, I don't know yet. I'm just getting into it. Hopefully it can be shorter, because that was a problem last time. And I don't have much else to say, but I think we can get into it. I will be doing when the Spider-Verse 2 trailer reaction came out, which probably already came out, and I think I'm going to try to get this video out by Friday of next week. There will be the Hawkeye review, obviously, a Planet Coaster, and an RCT3 video, maybe some thumbnail work in the meantime, and hopefully it all goes well. So, let's get into the ranking. Number 25 is Die Another Day. So this movie is just terrible. The plot is terrible with all of the Icarus laser. It just doesn't work at all. The CGI, I've gone on about how much I hate the CGI. Just watch my Total Recall movie review, my Die Another Day movie review, or my all 24 Bond movies ranked. And my Pierce Brosnan Bond movies ranked. If you watch all those videos, you'll understand how much I hate it. So I'm not gonna go on in this video. So I hate it. And the car chase, but some of the action sequences are great, like the car chase. The pre-title sequence is quite good. So is the sword fight, which is pretty over the top, but I love it. I think it's a very entertaining movie, but it's just a bad movie. Like, it's not well made. Like, how could you go from a pretty interesting concept from the very beginning to this terrible, terrible idea with horrible CGI and stuff like that. So it just draws me right out of it. Gustav Graves is a fine enough villain. He's serviceable. Brosnan is still great, but you kind of feel bad for him in a way, especially during the windsurfing sequence, because he's actually trying his best, but how would I put this? He's surrounding a not very good background, and this movie just doesn't work. And this is the only one I did not rewatch, and I picked a good one not to rewatch for this whole binge watch. Coming in number 24, we have Spectre. Spectre's one, I think it's bumped up quite a bit from last time. I said I hated this movie last time. I thought it was terrible. It dragged, it was boring, it was not fun at all. Part of my problems still exist, but most of them, I think I started to enjoy the whole first half more. I really enjoy the pre-title sequence, the car chase is decent, and the train fight is fantastic. Everything up until the train fight is at least good, and then after that it just becomes terrible. As you get into Blofeld's lair, and then the whole erasing Bond's mind, it just doesn't work. And then as you get into the final battle, that's probably the worst Bond final battle, with him just going through the MI6 building before it blows up, trying to save Madeline. Some little action, it's still not great. And then you have the helicopter, which I'm still not a fan of. And Madeline Swan just doesn't quite work here. And yeah, the best part about this movie for me is definitely Craig. I think he's fantastic here. Probably his most conventional Bond performance, but that's a great thing, because I think he's fantastic here. So sort of a mixed bag, but overall I'm still not a fan of this movie, but I liked him more than last time. The Man with the Golden Gun. Overall, this is one I wanted to put higher, but kind of couldn't, because I bumped up Thunderball, Diamonds Are Forever, and a couple others too. So this movie had to fall down because of that. And overall, this movie, I still don't really like it. Scaramanga is a great villain. Chris really is fantastic in there. Bond is just not quite at his best here. neither is Roger Moore. Goodnight is a terrible Bond girl. She's not terrible, but she's not she's not very good either. And as a whole, the story is just so weird, so jumbled. None of it really fits together, and it just makes for a kind of dull movie. There are some things I like about it. Like I just mentioned, Scaramanga is a great villain. Nick Nack's a pretty good henchman for the most part. The car chase is a decent enough car chase. The slide whistle, I mentioned that I'm not a fan of it. Yo Pepper returning doesn't make much sense. And this movie, it's just a very odd mix of scenes that don't quite work. Coming in number 22, this one dropped a ton from last time, like 6 spots from last time, and that's The World Is Not Enough. I did not enjoy this one as much on this watch. I will say there's a decent gap between this and The Man with the Golden Gun, and there are things I do enjoy quite a bit about it. Like I think Electra King's a good villain, Brosnan is fantastic, but all the things that I think I liked about it were about the same as last time. But all the things I didn't care for it made me dislike this movie a bit more. And as a whole, it's just kind of weird. Like, it doesn't quite fit. I don't know what it is, but there's something weird about this movie. I can't figure out what it is exactly. And, like, some of the action sequences do feel weird. Like, the ski chase is nowhere near as classic as a lot of the other ones that came before it. Like, even A Beautiful Kills, I'd say, is better. So, overall, this is one I just find kind of dull, and I just really didn't enjoy this watch. But I get why people do like this. I used to be a huge fan of this movie. I used to be a huge defender. Now, I'm kind of starting to fall in the line where I find it kind of dull. The pre-title sequence, I have nothing wrong with that. That is fantastic. There's nothing wrong with that sequence. Everything else, kind of weird. Denise Richards, I used to be like, she's fine. Now, I don't like her at all. And Robert Carlyle as Renard is a weird villain, and I don't really like him that much anymore. But this movie did drop from last time. If I watch it again, it could move up, but for now, it's at 22. Coming in at number 21 is Quantum of Solace. 2019 and 18 are all, 21, 2019, 18 are all kind of tied, but this one just falls at the bottom of those three because if I would rewatch one of them, I'd rather rewatch the other ones over this one, because the problem is this one I think makes much more sense when you're watching it right after Casino Royale, because I would never really watch this one as a standalone movie, because it doesn't really work as a standalone movie. And, like, there's some great action sequences, like the car chase at the beginning, the bell tower fight sequence, the little fight in the hotel room, the burning building action sequence. A lot of them are great. The editing is really what kind of takes me away from this movie. It's just so choppy and so weird. Like, in the car chase it works, and then almost every other action sequence is just kind of weird. I think some of the themes work. Like, I think Camille Montes is actually a pretty good character. I think she really works in this movie. And I don't have any problem with her, but the whole movie, it's just kind of dull. Like, Craig is giving probably his weakest performance as Bond here. He's still good in the role, like, I don't have a problem with him, but he's pretty weak. Strawberry Fields is not a very good Bond girl. I don't know, she had, like, no purpose in this movie anyways. Dominic Green is not a good villain. I mentioned that I don't like him before, and I think Elvis is an even worse henchman than him. So overall, this movie falls kind of flat. But if you watch it after Casino Royale, I think this movie would just go up a few spots. The top 20 is Diamonds Are Forever. This is one where I'm like, alright, it's okay, I have fun with it, but I don't get much out of it. So, as a whole, I think there's some fun elements to it. I think Grace Blofeld is fantastic here. I just think he really works as a villain. Tiffany Case is an alright Bond girl. Connery is pretty fun in the role, not as good as he used to be. None of the action sequences really stick out, except really the Babby and Thumber fight, and the elevator fight is surprisingly pretty good too. And the whole story is just weird with the whole diamond satellite and the cloning. It doesn't really work. And it's very cheesy. It's one of the cheesier Bond movies for sure. So, as a whole, pretty enjoyable. Connery is decent enough in it. I kind of like the Plenty O'Toole character, so there's not much there to say. The final battle, I heard there's supposed to be this whole sequence in this cave, but then due to budget reasons, they had to cut that out and just have it at this oil rig, and I'm not a huge fan of that. Wynton Kidder, good henchman, and other than, well, Felix Leiter here, not my favorite version of Felix Leiter, and overall, this movie, it's alright. Number 19 is A View to a Kill. Well, probably the weirdest Bond movie to watch. It's just Goldfinger set in the 80s with the plot line, with the Project Grand Slam instead of, Main Strike instead of Grand Slam. Okay. And other than that, Christopher Walken and Grace Jones are fantastic. I think but there's like 3 plot lines that don't really go nowhere. They go nowhere. The microchip plot line, then there's the horse plot line that doesn't take us anywhere, and then there's the whole thing with the psycho kid with the serum, whatever you want to call it. Feels like a prototype for what happens in Falcon the Winter Soldier. Whatever. So, but as a whole, this is a pretty fun Bond movie. I can ignore some of its faults because it's enjoyable. I think I appreciate the Golden Gate action sequence much more on rewatch. Stacey Sun is not a very good Bond girl, but she's entertaining enough. And overall, I just have a good time with this movie. It's pretty lighthearted, pretty campy, cheesy. So I can have a good time, but it's definitely not one I'd be putting any higher until I rewatch it. Coming in number 18 is Thunderball. You might be shocked that I have this one as high, because it's dropped down, and then after this rewatch, it got up. Like, I really enjoyed it in this watch. I think I just put it ahead of A View to a Kill because I think it's a better made movie than A View to a Kill and Diamonds Are Forever. The plot is still really dull. Like, you're literally following Bond, trying to figure this out, even though we already know what happens. And it makes for a bit of an unenjoyable watch. It's a bit too long. Largo is not the most interesting villain. I think he's fine. He's serviceable, but he's not my favorite. Domino is a pretty dull Bond girl, and I think overall, the things I like about it, just the atmosphere of the movie and the locations are just beautiful. It's one of the more beautifully shot movies, especially for it being one of the older ones, and that's kind of what I like about it. Aesthetic-wise, it's fantastic. Script-wise and story-wise, it's just okay. And that's kind of why it lands in number 18. None of the action sequences pop, except I really like the one where they're going down on that parade, and I don't know where they're, I think they're in the Bahamas. And then there's another one that I kind of like. I like the one where he's sneaking around Largo's base. I think that's pretty fun too. Fino Volpe's fantastic here. And overall, this movie does feel like it is a good movie, and it does make me want to go to some of these locations. But not a great Bond movie. Number 17, we have Moonraker. What a fun Bond movie. Just really enjoyable. So much packed into it. It's one of the more over-the-top science fiction, or science facts, as Cubby Broccoli says. So, as a whole, just a really fun film. Jaws is very Wile E. Coyote. So is the other henchman. I think his name is Chad or something. Roger Moore's just really fun here. One of his better performances for sure. Goodhead is a decent enough Bond girl, and as a whole, I just have a good time here. It's one of those Bond movies I can just put on and have a good time with. It's just fun, enjoyable, energetic. It's not one I rewatch that often because Spy Who Loved Me exists, You Only Live Twice exists, Star Wars exists, and it's just a bit too over the top in a way. It doesn't go as full blown as Die Another Day does, and that's kind of what I like about it. It does tone back, and it doesn't admit that it's over the top, and doesn't take itself too seriously. The main thing I think it improves over The Spy Who Loved Me is just Drax. I think he's a fantastic villain. One of the more silent ones, but that really works here. And it just kind of makes the movie so much better. He makes the movie better. And the space station is fantastic. Coming in at number 16 is 4 Years Only. Coming right off of Moonraker, this movie is much more grounded. One of the more grounded, and I don't know about gritty Bond movies, but it's definitely one of the more grounded. Roger Moore gives one of his more serious performances, and that's kind of what I like about it. It feels more like a template for what Dalton kind of did with Living Daylights and License to Kill in a way. And I think that works. The best scene in this movie is definitely where he kicks the car off. I think that's a fantastic scene. I think what's his name? Chris Stados is not the best villain. I just think he's okay. I think the henchman Locke is good enough. He's serviceable. I think he works. He works in definitely some of the action sequences. But the main thing I like about this movie are the action sequences and the stunt work. Like, especially the helicopter sequence. You might not think of it as a great action sequence, especially with the way they treat Blofeld. So, and there's the stunt work with the guy just hanging out the plane. I don't know if that's exactly what happened, but I'm assuming that's what happened. Let me know in the comments below if you know what happened in that stunt. So, you have that, then you have the ski chase, which is fantastic. Oh, I missed the car chase. That's fantastic. So is the sequence in Albania or wherever they are. I think it's great. Then there's also the final battle with the rock climbing, which is a really cool sequence with the perfect amount of tension. Kind of a prototype for what Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol did with the Burj Khalifa sequence. So as a whole, this is a great Bond movie with a lot of interesting stuff, but it's not very original. Like, it feels like it's borrowing from a bunch of other Bond movies that came before and come after it. So, pretty unoriginal, but I still enjoy it. Coming in number 15, we have The Living Daylights. Another one of John Glenn's Bond movies. I think he's probably one of the better Bond directors. He's one of the more underrated for sure. He's done the most amount of Bond movies. He's done 4 Years Only to License to Kill. And I think as a whole, I really enjoy Living Daylights. I like this one even more in every single rewatch. I don't know why I don't have this one higher. I just think I just prefer other Bond movies. It's not as fun as some of the other ones, but you have some great action sequences. Like, the car chase is fantastic. I really enjoyed that one-on-one fight with the, what's it called, Necros and the random guy in the kitchen, whatever you want to call it. So overall, I think that's really fun. This movie is pretty fun for the most part. Dalton's great. I'm not a huge fan of, what's her name, Cara Malofy. She's not the best Bond girl. Koskov and Whitaker are not very good villains. Necros is a serviceable henchman. He's pretty good. Also, I like some action sequences, especially, like the plane action sequence is great. Overall, the stunt work works here again, but it feels still like a template from a Roger Moore Bond movie, and I think License to Kill kind of took what this movie did and kind of improved on it. Another one that kept the spot from last time is You Only Live Twice. Another one that's just really fun, really enjoyable. Blofeld is fantastic, and I think he's just a great villain. Connery is what kind of takes me out of this movie. He's just not, it doesn't look like he's having a good time, and I just don't think he is really enjoying what's happening. There's 2 scenes I think he's great in. First one is that scene with the safe. Second one is really the last 15 minutes of this movie I think he's great in, where he's starting to enjoy himself a bit more. But Bond going Japanese just does not work whatsoever. It's hilariously bad, even for the time. And as a whole, that just doesn't work. Really most of the second half is just kind of weird with the whole ninja stuff. I think the ninja stuff is really fun. The whole long wedding sequence is a little weird. And then once they go into the volcano, that's when the movie starts to pick up. I cannot tell you how much I love that volcano set. It's amazing. The Little Nelly helicopter I also love. The score is pretty good for the most part. I haven't talked about the scores yet, but they're all pretty good for the most part, especially this one. And overall, it's just a really nice Bond movie, and it's a really fun one at that. Coming in number 13, dropping down a couple spots from last time, is Octopussy. Another one that's really fun, really enjoyable. This is one I could just put on, have a good time with, and 2 hours spent of my life. It's really enjoyable. Some great action sequences, like the plane sequence with the Prita sequence. Pretty good enough tuk-tuk chase in the middle of India. I think the jungle sequence I think is pretty underrated. Some great little minor scenes there. Also the train action sequence, car chase, everything that with the circus. Not huge fan of the plane sequence at the end, but whatever. That's not what we're talking about. So as a whole, just a really fun Bond movie I can just put on, have a good time with. 2 hours sped. Kamal Khan, not the best villain. I don't think Gobinda's that good of a henchman either. And Orlov's not that good of a villain. The story's not very good. It's kind of a mess. But I don't care. I just have a good time here. Roger Moore's very fun. And I think this is one of his better movies for sure. dropped down a couple spots from last time. I think just one spot this time, not two. Is Live and Let Die. Another one I just really enjoy. Just really fun, nice little Bond movie. Another one that you can just have fun with. Kanega's a good villain. Roger Moore's pretty fun for the most part as his first outing. I think this is my favorite version of the Felix Leiter character. He's even better in License to Kill. I like how they brought him back after, 16 years? So that was pretty interesting. Roger Moore's good. He's not as good as he becomes in the role. He's not my favorite Bond in any way. So as a whole, pretty enjoyable Bond movie. Solitaire's a Bond girl I think I used to like more than I do now. Some of the action sequences like the boat chase, the bus chase, the car... it's not really a car chase, but it feels like one when they're in New York. I think all of those are pretty good for the most part. And the little layer at the end is pretty fun. And I seem to love the character that can't seem to find the brakes.
Leroy, slow down! For Pete's sake, slow down! What the man say? I can't find a brake!
And other than that, just a pretty fun Bond movie for the most part that I can just have a good time with. Put on another one that I feel like 2 hours spent in my life. Now I can move on. And it's a bit mundane, but other than that, I don't really have any other problems with it. At number 11 is License to Kill. Another one that kind of dropped down a couple spots from last time. And that's because of some movies I just preferred more. Sanchez is a great villain. Dalton is better in this than he was in The Living Daylights. And as a whole, it just makes for a nice Bond movie. I can kind of just put this on when I'm in the mood for like an 80s action movie. Because I've seen this more than I think I've seen any of the Lethal Weapon movies, so... Well, not Die Hard, that's for sure. I think the thing with this one's kind of weird because I think I measure this one up against more 80s action movies than Bond movies, and that's kind of the problem because it feels more like an 80s action movie. I kind of watch this in more of an 80s action movie mindset, and that's kind of not how I want to watch a Bond movie, and some of the violence gets a bit too gory for its own good. So, I mean, some of the action sequences are great. I loved the underwater sequences, one of my favorite underwater sequences in the series. Probably second only to the one in The Spy Who Loved Me, and to the what's it called, Barefoot Skiing. I'm actually a pretty good water skier, so I kind of enjoy that for its value to me. And the Tiger Chase sequence is what really puts this one, I think, above Live and Let Die and Octopussy, because it's just a great little sequence where, or not little, it's pretty big for the most part, and you have so many great little fight sequences with Bond and Sanchez. So as a whole, just a great action sequence and a great movie. And at number 10, we have Dr. No. As the first entry of this franchise, it really works. It excels at what it tries to do. Connery's great, one of the most iconic castings in all of film history, I guess. And all of that works so well. I don't have any huge problems with this movie, except really, I think Dr. No could have been utilized much better as a villain, because I think he's just okay. But that's my only real issue. I just wish he was there a bit more. But I think there could have been more action. This is one of the few Bond movies where I'd say it's light on action. Most of the other ones that are light on action don't feel light on action. But other than that, I don't really... Yeah, that's like my only real problem with it. It's a little slow, but that's okay. But it's a pretty iconic movie. It's a lot of iconic sequences, and that's what I really enjoy about it. It's a nice little movie, and it works as the kickoff to the series. And I always feel like it works better when you watch this one as with the rest of the series, as you watch this one first and go into the rest, because it really sets out the series. And I seem to love that scene where he kills Professor Dent. I thought that was fantastic. The new one, No Time to Die, coming in at number 9. So, Craig is a fantastic here. Nice conclusion to the Craig era. It ranks right in the middle. I kind of assumed this is where it would place, and I think the score as a whole here was kind of disappointing, because Hans Zimmer's done some amazing scores, like Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. I think he's done some other good scores outside the DCEU. Here, I was a little disappointed, but whatever. I think his Trailer Bond theme is fantastic. And when the Epic Bond theme plays, I've mentioned I like this in the past. So overall, No Time to Die is a great Bond movie. It's not my favorite just because the ending is what kind of killed it. I think, spoiler alert, I think Bond should have settled with his family rather than him dying. Like, it would have worked so much better. And I watched this video, you can go check this out. It's in the description below. This Calvin Dyson video to what's next for Bond. and it's actually a pretty interesting video. I recommend you go check this out if you've seen the movie. So I'm not gonna just go watch this video because we have kind of similar thoughts. Some of the action sequences here are fantastic. Two of them especially. The Defender sequence in the middle of the forest when they're in Norway, and that Cuba sequence is absolutely amazing. And I think those two are the two best in the movie. I also really enjoy the car chase right at the beginning. I think Madeline Swan is a much better character here than she was in Spectre. I really much like her here. You can go check out my Craig movies Bond ranking with No Time to Die if you want to hear more thoughts. But this is where I'm gonna end. Coming in at number 8 is Tomorrow Never Dies. This is probably the most fun Bond movie. This is the one I've seen the most of, at least of the Brosnan ones. I might have seen GoldenEye more than this, I have no idea. I don't pay attention to how many times I've seen Bond movies. Anyway, so many great action sequences. Plane action sequence. Action sequence in a newspaper office. Car chase in a multi-story parking lot, or parking garage. Motorcycle chase in Beijing. Boat action sequence with two people against an army. This movie just has so many great ones. It's one of the more realistic, of all the over-the-top ones, it's one of the more realistic ones, really, because this could happen. It's a bit ahead of its time, but this could have technically happened today. Elliot Carver's a good villain. None of the henchmen really stick out, like Stamper, Gupta are not very good. Kaufman's great, though. Michelle Yeoh's a great Bond girl. Brosnan's great as always. One of his weaker performances, but it's one of his weaker performances, still a great Bond performance, and that's what I like. The BMW is a great little car. I really like some of the gadgets, like especially the phone. It's one of my favorite gadgets, and overall, you can check out my review because I'm going to go on with this movie, but overall, just a really fun Bond movie. Not the best, but one of the most fun. Coming in number 7, kind of the opposite, Tomorrow Never Dies in a way. And that's On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Overall, Lazenby's pretty good for the most part. I don't like when they dubbed him. That's probably my least favorite part about this movie. Telly Savalas is great here. I think he's my favorite Blofeld. You kind of see the physicality in the Blofeld character here compared to Donald Pleasence or the Blofelds that came before and after him. Because this is the one Blofeld where you can really see him actually winning in a fight between him and against one. You saw that with Charles Grace Blofeld, and it ended up horrible for him. In Diamonds Are Forever. So overall, just a really nice thriller. I think Tracy is a fantastic Bond girl. Probably my favorite one. It's between her and Natalia from GoldenEye. Both of them are fantastic. I think I might go with Natalia just because story-wise, I think she makes for a better Bond girl. I think the ending is one of the best endings to any Bond movie. Pretty emotional. I kind of like the Casino Royale instead of kind of improved. I think the ending Casino Royale improved on what this did, so they can have some sort of epic moment or something like that. And overall, really enjoy this movie. Not the most rewatchable, but has one of the better stories for the most part. And it comes in at number 7. Coming in number 6 is Goldfinger. Overall, this is definitely gold standard Bond, and that's kind of what I like about it. There's so many great iconic things, like Goldfinger's a villain, Oddjob, Pussy Galore, Bond, the car, the Master Sisters, I guess. Overall, there's many great things here. Goldfinger's plan with Operation Grand Slam is pretty iconic for Bond standards. This has the highest Rotten Tomato score of any Bond movie, as 99%, I think, and that's pretty understandable for the most part. Definitely, and I think this is really what pushed Bond into a huge blockbuster franchise, I guess, at least at the time. It doesn't quite age well. Like, the Barnes sequence does not age well whatsoever. And as a whole, it's a great movie, but there's some things that don't quite age well. Goldfinger is one of the things that does age well. Okay, that's a lie. He doesn't age well, but he's still one of the best film villains of all time. He's a great Bond villain. He's not like the best movie villain of all time.
Do you expect me to talk?
No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
I give that to Heath Ledger's Joker, Hans Gruber from Die Hard, or the T-1000 from Terminator 2, or Thanos. How have I not mentioned Thanos? Darth Vader. So many great movie villains. He goes in that, I guess. But overall, Goldfinger is my favorite Bond villain. Oddjob is one of my favorite Bond henchmen, and this is one of my favorite Bond movies. Coming in at number 5 is The Spy Who Loved Me. Another one that just works. This is kind of the Goldfinger of the Roger Moore era, where like you have a great car with the Lotus, some great action sequences like the pre-title sequence, the car chase, the La Paris action sequence. So many great things here. I think the Egypt setting is pretty interesting. The film kind of moves a bit slow, takes its time around that part of the runtime, and I think the train action sequence, coming off of a little bit like Die One, I think it's even better here. Not as good as the one from Russia with Love, but it's the middle of when it comes to the 3 train action sequences and quality, I guess. This was the one I think I've rewatched the most, because this was my favorite Bond movie for a long time, until I think I saw Casino Royale and that came to number 1. Until I really binge watched all the Bond movies, and then I realized, oh wait, this one's maybe a bit lower. At one point I think I had Live and Let Die ahead of this, and then that dropped down. So as a whole, really fun Bond movie. Stromberg's not the best film, but Jaws is one of the best henchmen, might be my very favorite. It's either him or one of the ones from GoldenEye. But overall, really fun Bond movie, really enjoyable, and I just have a great time whenever I put this one on, but it's not quite my favorite. Four is one I feel like I'm kind of surprised that I like it as much as I do, and that's From Russia with Love. I was expecting Goldfinger to actually come up ahead of this one, because I actually dropped this one down a little bit from my last ranking. It's not quite as good as I remembered it was, but as a whole, just a really nice Bond movie. It's not one I rewatch that often, because the story it's a very like Cold War-esque story, so it's not one that I'm not a huge Cold War story fan, but this is definitely probably the best Cold War related Bond movie. I guess GoldenEye kind of is too, but this one specifically Cold War. I think the Istanbul setting is pretty interesting. All the plot beats kind of work with the Lecter, the train, the gypsy camp, all of that pretty much works. I don't really have any huge problems with it. I wish Tanya's storyline was a bit more fleshed out than it is here, because I think her turning point is one of the main storylines, but they don't really explore it here. But Red Grant is an amazing henchman. Rosa Kleff's a pretty good villain. I feel like if this movie was a little bit longer, I think it could have been even better. Could have been maybe my number 1. It could have been as good as a lot of those fantastic Hitchcock movies like North by Northwest or Rear Window, because this is kind of what this movie feels like. It's borrowing from Hitchcock compared to a Dr. No. And as a whole, it makes for a really nice spy story and a great Bond movie. Coming up a couple spots from last time is Skyfall. This one I think I used to have this one at number 1, and then it dropped down, and then this is the rewatch, and I think I put it back up a bit from 5 to 3. And overall, it's just a great Bond movie. So many great things. The Adele song is amazing. I haven't really mentioned the songs all that much, but the Adele song is amazing. I'm gonna do a song ranking within the near future, probably within a month. And as a whole, all the plot beats work here with the Raul Silva, all the locations, Macau, Shanghai, London, Scotland, all of it's fantastic. The pre-title sequence in Morocco is great too. The whole Bond dying thing is a bit tacked on. I don't think the score is the best here. But as a whole, just a great Bond movie, and it really deserves to be number 3. As the 50th anniversary really works here. Much better than the 40th anniversary, Die Another Day. And that's why this comes in at number 3. Also, the DB5, its return is fantastic and a fantastic scene. And overall, just a nice, pretty emotional Bond movie. And I think overall, it just really works. It just works so well in the Craig era. It is probably Craig's best performance here. This is one of the ones where I think he's having a bit more fun. My only issue with this movie really is I have 2 problems. First one, there's some plot contrivances that I can't quite get over, but it doesn't hurt the movie. Second one, I noticed that Quantum of Solace and Casino Royale are meant to be very grounded. This movie kind of goes a bit more fantastical than those, and he doesn't bleed quite as much as he used to. So I find that element kind of weird. Like, I don't think he's bleeding at all by the end of the movie. It's okay, I don't really care that much. Those are just 2 very minor nitpicks for a great movie. Coming in at number 2 is Casino Royale. The only reason why I think I bumped this one down, I just think I enjoyed my number 1 more. I don't think I bumped this one. I think I just bumped my number 1 up. The score is great. Craig is great. The parkour action sequence is fantastic. The Miami Airport action sequence is fantastic. So many fantastic action sequences. And overall, just a really nice Bond movie. Vesper is a great Bond girl. Her death is pretty emotional for the most part. Le Chiffre is a great villain, I guess. He's not... I don't like him that much, but I think Mads Mikkelsen plays him really nicely. Some of the casino scenes are fantastic. I think all of them are fantastic. The song is great. And as a whole, this is a nice, energetic return to the series. And hopefully Martin Campbell can do the next entry in the Bond franchise after No Time to Die. So, hopes and dreams I can only have. I can't make any promises in this case. Coming in at number 1 is GoldenEye. This is my very favorite Bond movie. Love it. Absolutely amazing. Really love Trevelyan and all of the henchmen. Boris, Orlov, and Xenia are all top 5 henchmen. Maybe not top 5, but at least top 10. Xenia is probably my favorite Bond henchman. Orlov could be my favorite Bond henchman. Boris isn't. But as a whole, Trevelyan is a great villain. I love the rivalry between 007 and 006 here. Works so well. The fight sequence between them is probably my favorite Bond fight sequence. I think that might be what put this one ahead of Casino Royale. My only issue with this movie, I hate the score. I think Eric Serra's score is not good. I understand they were kind of trying to do something. It's very 90s. And I think the Bond theme right at the beginning and the pre-title sequence is pretty good. But overall, the score is not my favorite. And it kind of hurts the sequence in St. Petersburg. This is my least favorite Bond score. Other than that, no issues. The Tina Turner song is great. Really enjoy all of it. Like, there's just so many great things in this movie. All of the action sequences are at least good. I'm always on the edge of my seat in this movie, and it comes in at number 1. Both the Martin Campbell's movies came out at number 1. So thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment down below. And I'll see you guys next time. Adios.